one of the things I found super interesting is over the last 6 years since we're doing the podcast, when I first started, mining wasn't anything I really paid attention to. It was just like this weird group of people with these machines out in Kazakhstan who secured the network. I paid no attention to it for a good few years. And then all of a sudden, it's the miners who are leading the game of Bitcoin. They are kind of running the show. They've got some of the most interesting companies. They are publicly listed. They're driving a huge amount of innovation, things we didn't even know were going to happen, some crazy shit. I mean, you've been in it for a while, Harry. What do you make of all this?
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to help everybody here and listening understand just how not sexy mining was in 2018 and 19, and like just how weird and crazy it was, and how, you know, we're coming off of 8 to 10 years of this being like a deeply hobbyist, like really in your basement kind of, not a business, but truly a hobby, right? Providing hash rate to the Bitcoin network was not a professional activity. It was like barely an altruistic activity. And you know, that was really a function of a couple of things. You know, the first is that Bitcoin wasn't very valuable for a long time, which we've somehow forgotten. You know, Bitcoin was freedom technology and privacy technology, and it was foundationally useful in all of those ways before anybody figured out that they wanted to trade a lot of US dollars for one. And so, you know, the mining industry was born out of that ethos. And so there, you know, a huge number of folks running nodes and mining nodes on PCs, you know, that's what bootstrapped Bitcoin from the beginning. So we thank them for their energy service, even though they've achieved fabulous wealth since then. They deserve every Satoshi. We've come a long way since then, and really the professionalization of the mining industry is something that I kind of trip-fell and landed in. You know, I'm not an energy guy, I'm not a data center guy, I'm barely a Bitcoin guy at the time that I got into it, but really I felt an enormous center of gravity around providing proof of work to the Bitcoin network and taking on that role, taking on, you know, what we at Grid and what every miner I've ever talked to takes as a foundational responsibility, a deadly serious responsibility, which is if we want this thing to work, we have to participate, and we have to participate aggressively and competitively and honestly. And so, you know, it's really exciting for me to see the transfer from, you know, what the best we could do was, you know, plugging in like 800 FPGAs to like, you know, our father-in-law's warehouse to today, you know, where we're signing some of the largest energy contracts in America. We're building the backbone of our electric systems day by day. We're integrating across, you know, core human infrastructure. So getting to build a business at the intersection of energy and money, you know, it's the dream of a lifetime.
How about you, Troy? You're the, yeah. Woo! And Troy, you're at the forefront of some of the most exciting things that are happening at mining. Things that, apart from Hal Finney, nobody really thought about. What it was, and you've also, Troy's just like come out of nowhere and become this superstar.
Rocket ship.
Yeah. What's it been like for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's really great to be here and be with friends and talk about something that has absorbed my life, that I feel passionate about, and with people doing it well who I really admire tremendously. I've been thinking about the business of Bitcoin mining as just truly unique. On the Uber over here, I had this picture in my head. It just sort of floated in just before I arrived of like a petri dish and a culture in the petri dish, like expanding rapidly out to the edge of the dish. And then I was like interpreting the image, and it's like, this is Bitcoin mining. The petri dish is the block reward. The culture is mining, and it's just going to run right out to the edge of that until it starves and reaches its limits, its ecology, its population dynamics. And Bitcoin mining is so, in a way, perfectly formal. I'm a philosopher, an academic philosopher. You can think about it at this very high abstract level, like the petri dish. You know exactly what, in some sense, you know exactly what is going to happen with the block subsidy. You don't know what's going to happen with fees. but you can sort of project that it's going to be a perfect competition to get that block reward, whatever it is. Everybody's running the same miners. Everybody's got the same tool. And these little marginal differences on how you operate are going to make all the difference. And also, it's a zero-sum game in the way for all the miners. So it's a fascinating space, not just sort of philosophically and theoretically, but personally, to know what kind of person sees like the halving year off and is like, I want in, you know, it's just this looming thing. It's this looming thing where you're, you know, the major part of your revenue up until recently is going to drop in half across the industry, and people are like, yeah, it's time to expand. You know, if you don't expand, you die. And it's like, what kind of a human being does this? And then I think they're very courageous individuals and risk-taking individuals. And look, they've been right in the past. And not all of them, but they've been right. And so to me, it's like one of the most amazing examples of like capitalism in its rawest, purest form, almost purer than any.
Bring your mic up to your mouth.
Almost purer than any kind of form that appears in nature, where you have so much randomness in how well you do. This is such a pure competition, and it draws a certain kind of person where everybody I talk to in mining is like, yeah, we're expanding, and I say, what about the halving? You know, I'm a somewhat cautious person, and they say, yeah, but our power price is really good. You know, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, but if you talk to everybody else, they're telling me the same. They're telling me the same thing. You know, and then it's like, yeah, but Bitcoin, you know, it's Bitcoin, and it's like this raw, like it's like, yeah, it's Bitcoin. No further explanation means what? It means like maybe the number goes up. Look, it's the halving. Number has gone up before in the halving. Another thing it means is maybe we get a black swan, like a disruption in the fee market that suddenly lifts all boats that nobody expects. And it occurs to me that in Bitcoin, this is the other part of the capitalism thing, in Bitcoin mining, it's all about risk and reward. What you're really betting on are these black swan type events, like a bubble in price where nobody can get a hold of ASICs, and you can print money hand over fist during that period. And you're betting on the probability of that event happening, you know? So it's operationally, are you better than other people? But it's also like, will this black swan type event happen? And miners keep kind of getting it right as prices double or more with each halving, and as we get disruptions in the fee market. So I'm a bystander, I'm an onlooker, but I'm just sort of fascinated by the kind of person and the dynamic that mining is. And of course, I think about it, like, where does this go? Where does this kind of person and this kind of industry unleashed on the world of energy and resources and states, what does that look like? Because like you were saying, Peter, that, you know, this era doesn't resemble previous eras. Well, guess what? The next era does not resemble this era. We're going to have this conversation 2 halvings down the line, and it's going to be like remember how completely naive and simplistic we were this time right now? It's going to keep changing. It's going to keep changing.